Bum, bum, bum. Out here in the field, I fight for my meal. I get my back into my living. I don't need to fight to prove I'm right. I don't need to be forgiven.
There is a power for good in the universe, and you can use it.
Welcome to the Science of Spiritual Reality with me, Mitchell K. Jones.
The words of the wise heard in quiet are better than the shouting of a ruler among fools. Ecclesiastes 9:7.
Hello, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of the Science of Spiritual Reality. Today we're going to be getting into another one of those archetypes of alternative masculinity that I've talked about a couple episodes ago, starting with Saint Joseph, husband of Mary, stepfather of Jesus, patron saint of workers, patron saint of caretakers and stepfathers. But like I said, I want to talk more about sort of different archetypes of this, you know, what I talked about, you know, the example of a gentle craftsman like sincere, caretaking, competent, strong, yet peaceful man. You know, and I am talking about a cisgender male archetype here, but you know, it could be, you know, this idea doesn't have to just be about, you know, the cisgender male identity. It can be also included in other identities as well. One of the things I talked about, actually last Father's Day, I talked about how really the importance of being both a father figure and a mother figure. That really, you know, since we are made in God's image, God made us man and woman, that actually we individually, each of us, are man and woman in one. So we balance those spiritual masculine and feminine traits, which again we can say differ from the performance of gender that philosophers like Judith Butler have identified, that gender is a social construct, is social performance. But also, you know, I think we can critique these gender performances and articulate alternative gender roles or gender performances that might be more beneficial to ourselves and to society. So I'm going to talk about Joe Pera in a minute here, but I want to bring up this comment that I saw on, this is the relaxing, I think, what is it? Relaxing old footage video, which I think I'm going to show in a minute, but the comment here is, this is what happens when an entire generation's sense of humor relies on irony and cynicism. We begin to crave sincerity and wholesomeness. So yeah, that's great. Here's, every Saturday when I was young, I would lay across a carpet and open old electronics I got from Salvation Army to see how they worked. I'd use the light from the sun beaming through the window. I would crawl with the light until it faded, and then Mom would call for supper. I haven't thought of that until I watched this video. So, here's another one. At the end of the video footage, I suddenly cried. After all these years, I've been chasing happiness endlessly without realizing that something as yet very simple can be so beautiful. Thank you, Joe Pera. Me as a kid watches as trees pass by the window. I wonder if this feeling could ever be captured in film. Nah, that would be silly. Joe Pera, 15 years later. 22 minutes and I didn't have to think about losing my job, evictions, no job openings, and going to Food Bank Wednesday. Thank you. Have a safe Memorial Day. Here's one. I heard Norm Macdonald once say it's one thing to make someone laugh, but another to make them smile. Whatever Joe is comedically, he makes me smile. This is YouTube. I want to bring this up too. The YouTube comment section is known as a place of toxic, aggressive, divisive talk, cynicism, hatred. You know, let's face it, as much as people try to justify it, however they do, you know, there is a lot of hatred online. But that's not the case in the Joe Pera comments section. People are positive. They are talking about living life to the fullest, and they are talking about being sincere and wholesome. And that is the beauty of Joe Pera.
Beautiful and relaxing. My fall loop has a somber objective. If I've really given this pumpkin a piece of my soul, it ought to be laid to rest the same way that I hope to be someday. There are an estimated 300 waterfalls in the UP. Some, we'll admit, are just rapids, but nearly 200 of them are big enough to have names. In my lifetime, I've been to 41, so with approximately 259 waterfalls left to see, I'll just have to visit 4.6 waterfalls a year if I'm going to see the rest before I die at age 85. Probably of a poison kiss.
So when I heard that Adult Swim canceled the show Joe Pera Talks with You, I lamented a bit, but alas, life moves on. But I do think Joe Pera's work is very important because it reminds us that you can be weird, but not a weirdo. You can be masculine, but not misogynist. You can be competent, but not arrogant. And you can be funny, but not mean, and strong, but gentle. Joe Pera is the masculine model we need today during this period that people are calling a crisis of masculinity. In a world that's trained to shout, gentleness feels almost illegal. In a world that encourages hopelessness, despair, aggression, division, hatred, violence, anger, the triplet evils of racism, extreme materialism, and militarism. In a world like that, gentle joyfulness feels almost illegal. We get screen alerts on our phones. We get outrage on social media. We get advertising everywhere we turn. You know, the magazine Adbusters, they call themselves Journal of the Mental Environment. I think I am a bit of a mental environmentalist. New Thought asserts that thoughts are causative, thoughts create reality. But I see it as a dialectical relationship between inner and outer, outer and inner. And what we choose to expose ourselves to, and we don't always have 100% autonomy or agency in all of our choices. But what we choose to expose ourselves to very much affects our mental environment and then affects our mental attitudes, which our mental attitudes then affect our reality. So again, it's a feedback loop. It's a dialectical relationship between inner and outer. There's also ideas of urgency that surround us. Idea that there's always a crisis happening and that we have to do something, although we often don't know what it is that we should do. Modern culture amplifies noise, both in volume and in intimacy. It follows us into our pockets, our bedrooms, and our prayers. I'm going to be talking about how pleading prayer is ineffectual, but affirmative prayer is effectual and has the power to affect our reality. But over time, society traded coherence for stimulation and contemplation for performance. But Joe Pera matters because he refused to make this trade and chooses gentleness deliberately. His awkward goofiness proves that we can laugh with someone rather than at them. Joe Pera represents a positive masculine archetype for the 20th century. His quiet competence and gentle strength are a beacon of postmodern sincerity in a cynical age.
Bartleby, come here, please. I have some copy to examine.
I would prefer not to.
Bartleby, did you misunderstand me? I have some copy to check against the original. Come in here and help me.
I would prefer not to.
prefer not to? What do you mean, prefer not to? I want you to compare this sheet. Here, take it.
I would prefer not to.
The crisis of masculinity emerged as a historical process over time. It developed alongside a culture that trained men to confuse volume with authority and dominance with strength. The 20th century accelerated the machinery of distraction. After World War II, television entered nearly every home in the United States. Advertising expanded beyond just selling products and began shaping desire, shaping identity, and shaping our aspirations. During the Cold War, mass media linked anxiety to citizenship. It trained people to consume fear as a form of participation. Remember the duck and cover civil defense films with the turtle? Telling them to duck and get under the desks. These pressures also shaped masculine norms. Men learned to perform certainty, emotional distance, and ironic detachment. Vulnerability appeared risky. Gentleness appeared unserious. And silence became either withdrawal or threat. And the internet intensified these dynamics in the late 20th century into the 21st. Digital platforms monetized interruption. The attention economy became a phrase. Reactive performance became rewarded. Immediacy, constant, infinite scroll feeds. So, the quickest information, no time to reflect, no time to analyze, just the latest data. Media theorists like Marshall McLuhan and Neil Postman warned that technologies shape consciousness itself. McLuhan said the medium is the message, and Postman argued that a culture organized around entertainment would lose its capacity for sustained thought, moral seriousness, and historical memory. Joe Pera responds to this condition by slowing the tempo. He lingers. He treats a grocery store announcement, a fall drive, a bean arch with care. Practices calm deliberately, sort of like Henry David Thoreau talked about, living deliberately. And so his work models a masculinity that doesn't require domination to feel real. Calm is a practice for him. And in that sense, his work aligns with earlier traditions, as I mentioned, Henry David Thoreau, but also the Quietist tradition in the early church, Zen and Taoist concepts of simplicity, simple living. Scott Nearing, the economist, who talked about simple living. The slow food movement that emerged in Italy in the 1980s. People took time to make what they were going to consume. And minimalist art that stripped expression down to its essentials. Now, I'm not a big fan of minimalism, and I can go into that a little bit more, but still, for me, I like the folk art concept of beautiful simplicity. Something doesn't have to be ornate or expensive to be beautiful. I like that arts and crafts aesthetic. Decoration is for everybody because you can always make something beautiful. But rather than escaping modernity, Joe Pera absorbs it, processes it, and like Herman Melville's Bartleby the Scrivener, declined its demands. I'd prefer not to.
Imagine you're a hyper-educated avant-gardist in grad school learning to write.
Right.
Screen gets all fuzzy now as the viewer's invited to imagine this. Coming out of an avant-garde tradition, I get to this grad school, and the grad school turns out all the teachers are realists. They're not at all interested in postmodern avant-garde stuff. Now, there's an interesting delusion going on here. So they don't like my stuff. I believe that it's not because my stuff isn't good, but because they just don't happen to like this kind of aesthetic. In fact, known to them but unknown to me, the stuff was bad. It was indeed bad. So in the middle of all this, hating the teachers, but hating them for exactly the wrong reason, this was spring of 1986. I remember who I went to see the movie with. Blue Velvet comes out. Blue Velvet comes out. Blue Velvet is a type of surrealism. It may have debts. There's a debt to Hitchcock somewhere, but it is an entirely new and original kind of surrealism. It no more comes out of a previous tradition or the postmodern. It is completely David Lynch. And I don't know how well you or your viewers would remember the film, but there are some very odd. There's a moment when a guy named the Yellow Man is shot in an apartment, and then Jeffrey, the main character, runs to the apartment, and the guy's dead, but he's still standing there. There's no explanation, you know? He's just standing there. And it's almost classically French, Franco-philistically surreal. And yet it seems absolutely true and absolutely appropriate. And there was this, I know I'm taking a long time to answer your question, there was this way in which I all of a sudden realized that the point of being postmodern or being avant-garde or whatever wasn't to follow in a certain kind of tradition, that all that stuff is BS imposed by critics and camp followers afterwards, that what the really great artists do, and it sounds very trite to say it out loud, well, what the really great artists do is they're entirely themselves. They're entirely themselves. They've got their own vision, their own way of fracturing reality, and that if it's authentic and true, you will feel it in your nerve endings. And this is what Blue Velvet did for me. I'm not suggesting it would do it for any other viewer, but Lynch very much helped snap me out of a kind of adolescent delusion that I was in about what sort of avant-garde art could be. And it's very odd because film and books are very different media. But I remember going with two poets and one other student fiction writer to go see this, and then all of us going to the coffee shop afterwards and just, slapping ourselves in the forehead. It was this truly epiphanic experience. The problem is I think postmodernism has to a large extent run its course. The biggest thing for me that was interesting about postmodernism is that it was the first text that was highly self-conscious. Self-conscious of itself as text, self-conscious of the writer as persona, self-conscious about the effects that narrative had on readers, and the fact that readers probably knew that. It was the first generation of writers who'd actually read a lot of criticism, and there was a certain schizophrenia about it. It was very useful, it seems to me, because the culture, this was a real beaker of acid in the face of the culture. The culture at the time this came out, this was before, the Youth Rebellion in the 60s, was very staid and very conservative and very Alfred Kazanish. And the problem, though, is that a lot of the shticks of postmodernism, irony, cynicism, irreverence, are now part of whatever it is that's enervating in the culture itself, right? Burger King now sells hamburgers with "you gotta break the rules," right? So I don't really consider myself a postmodernist. I don't consider myself much of anything, but I do know that that's the tradition that excited me when I was starting to write.
Paul,
is that anything like an answer to that?
It is.
So this posture carries a particular significance, again, for men, because since modern masculinity developed alongside empire, industrialization, and bureaucratic power, it trained men to focus on control, on emotional suppression, and on competitive dominance. Factories, militaries, and corporations rewarded hardness and distance as forms of manliness. Cultural narratives equated strength with silence and vulnerability with failure. Feminists and women's liberation movements rightly dismantled these norms, but many men inherited the critique without any guidance. They learned that masculinity should reject some things, but they never articulated what it should affirm. Joe Pera draws from an older counter-tradition that, again, aligns with Henry David Thoreau, who defined manhood through attentiveness, ethical clarity, and resistance to unjust systems. He also echoes figures such as Fred Rogers, who consciously used gentleness and emotional transparency as public moral instruction. And he reflects the Quaker tradition, which rooted masculine integrity in listening, restraint, and communal responsibility. Again, Joe Pera grounds masculinity in care. He pays attention. He remembers people's names. He notices seasonal rhythms, just like Thoreau did. He listens without rushing to assert dominance. In a culture that produces emotional illiteracy amongst men, this attentional discipline is a form of resistance. It challenges systems of domination by modeling a self secure enough to remain open. His masculinity is competence without arrogance. He remains capable without posturing and stays gentle without apologizing. He shows that strength can coexist with care. And Joe Pera's work operates on a spiritual register too, even when it avoids explicitly religious language. His comedy rests on what theologians have long called the sacramental imagination. The conviction that grace doesn't interrupt ordinary life, but it reveals itself within it. He treats the everyday as worthy of reverence. His character is a middle school choir teacher, and the choir performances, he puts really a lot of sincerity into it, even when the voices aren't always the best. But it's a form of devotion rather than a joke. The attention he pays to his bean arch is a lesson in patience, continuity, and stewardship. A neighbor's routine is a site of dignity. Joe refuses to flatten these moments into irony or sentimentality. He doesn't exaggerate them to earn laughs, but he attends to them carefully, allowing their meaning to surface through sustained attention. So in this sense, he consecrates ordinary life. This posture also aligns with the Catholic sacramental theology, which understands the world as charged with the grandeur of God, to borrow Gerard Manley Hopkins' phrase. In this vision, no detail is too small to matter because every detail carries the possibility of transcendence. Joe's world is filled with sunrises over Lake Superior, fish fries, snowmobiles, grocery lists, and church announcements. None of these moments bore him, and none of them feel disposable. His attention itself is a form of prayer. Each of these moments is sacred, although ordinary. This sacramental imagination reaches its clearest expression in episodes that deliberately blur the boundary between sacred and secular. When Joe discovers a classic rock song by The Who, Bob O'Reilly, for the first time, he brings that joy into the middle of the church's announcements. But the scene's not mocking religion or disrupting it for shock value. It's an encounter between the big S sacrament and the small s sacrament. As Thomas Aquinas has said, nature is, the sacred scripture is in 2 volumes. Nature is the first scripture that the soul learns to know, and the next is the word. The liturgy of the Mass and the quiet miracle of discovering beauty, a beautiful song, a beautiful song that you've never heard before, collide, but they don't cancel each other out. Joy spills over, and wonder interrupts routine. The holy reveals itself through the ordinary rather than against it. Again, this resonates with strands of Christian socialism and 19th century social gospel movements, such as the movement known as distributism, articulated by G.K. Chesterton and Hilaire Belloc, and the Catholic worker movement led by Dorothy Day, who rejected abstraction in favor of local presence, the immanence of God. They insisted that holiness came through shared meals, dignified labor, neighborhood responsibility, communal responsibility, mutual care. And their critique of capitalism rested on the moral seriousness of everyday life lived in community. So Joe Pera inhabits this tradition intuitively. His work centers on teachers, neighbors, grandparents, choir students, and local rituals. He resists the logic of disposability that defines modern culture. No character exists just to advance a plot or absorb ridicule. Everyone is irreducible. Weakness is not a punchline. Anxiety and suspicion, embodied in later seasons through characters struggling with fear and control, like his girlfriend, receive patient attention instead of judgment, instead of thinking that this person is weird. This ethic aligns with Christian personalism. Thinkers such as Emmanuel Mounier argued that society must honor the inviolable dignity of each person rather than subordinating individuals to systems, to markets, and to hegemonic ideologies. Joe practices this personalism by the way he structures his narrative world around persons instead of abstractions. He preserves tradition by extracting its humane core and allowing it to remain alive. Joe Pera does not combat noise with louder noise. He dissolves it through steadiness. His work aligns with Taoist non-forcing and Gandhian truth force. He leaves space. He trusts patience. In an economy that profits from outrage and a culture that rewards aggression, this approach is quite...
Well, it may not be the national Christmas tree, but yours is just as important. But where do you start? For example, what's the best kind for your home, and how do you take care of it?
Hey, joining us now from New York is tree expert and stand-up comedian Joe Pera, joining us to help you choose the perfect tree for your home. So you got two jobs, a tree expert and a stand-up comic, Joe.
That's right. To be honest, I'm more of a tree enthusiast than an expert. But I like evergreens a lot and wanted to do a show about them.
All right.
All right, and you got your own TV special coming up too.
Yeah, it's called Joe Pera Helps You Find the Perfect Christmas Tree. And hopefully by the end of the show, it'll help viewers do just that.
So the question is, well, Joe, let me ask you this. How many kinds of trees are there to choose from?
Dozens. There's so many Christmas trees out there. It's a difficult decision because unless you got a mansion, and I definitely don't, you can only get one tree every year. So it's important to choose the right one.
Joe, here in the Midwest, we tend to have a certain kind of tree. Other areas have certain kind of tree. Do the trees vary by region?
Oh, the Midwest is a great place for Christmas trees. We shot a lot of the show in Michigan, Newberry, Michigan, to be specific, because but the whole state of Michigan is has the third number 3 tree producer in all the country. I think second only to Oregon, and I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but there's a lot of tree farms in Michigan and Wisconsin.
You're not an expert, you're an enthusiast.
I'm an enthusiast.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
But But there are ways to keep your tree looking like fresh. Like, what do you do to keep your tree looking fresh over the holiday?
The big thing is just to keep it watered and make sure that you get a fresh tree when you do choose one. If you get it right from the farm, it's pretty easy to tell that it's fresh. But if you do go to the tree lot, a little trick is to take a needle off the branch and you bend it. And if it springs back, it's fresh. And if it breaks, you should probably get a different tree.
All right. That's Joe Pera, Christmas tree enthusiast and stand-up comedian. He's going to have his own TV special where Joe will help you find the perfect Christmas tree. Joe Pera, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Unfortunately, deep down, it's okay. Don't sweat it. We'll reset it. Okay. All good? Okay. Don't feel bad. You just ruined my entire life.
Good news! Good news!
This little baby could very well be part of the next generation of first responder. The little one who can't even walk yet has this CPR technique down pat, pumping the chest, checking for breathing, and providing air. She is so cute. Oh my God. I'm sorry. That is so cute. All right. Okay, let's see here. All right, moving on. I got to stop my giggles. Thank you to our producer, Dale, for providing that. Oh, my God. 6:28. We'll be back right after this break.
Good news!
This is another Uncle Ernie
Good
Happiness
News is
ad.
brought to you by Uncle Ernie's Happiness Ads.
Now, among the fun things that God's made, besides bears and other things to look at and wild creatures, is this raccoon. And this raccoon is right next to my son's neighbor's backyard, right next to his backyard. Got up there in that tree and just sat there all day long. He was there in the morning and just sat there all day long. And I was there that day and got his picture. Now, and then right in town in Charlotte, right by our kitchen window, this woodchuck sat there all one afternoon. Just sat there in the crotch of that tree. I got more of him and his reaction to the dogs and the dogs' reaction to them during that afternoon in another show. Another thing that God made that's wonderful is the birds. Many wonderful things, just a sample of the things He made for us to enjoy.
God is my help in every need. God does my every hunger feed. God walks beside me, guides my way through every moment of the day. I now am wise, I now am true, patient, kind, and loving too. All things I am, can do, and be through Christ the truth that is in me. God is my help. I can't be sick. God is my strength unfailing quick. God is my all. I know no fear, since God and love and truth are here. Amen.
This week's meditation is Relaxing Old Footage by Joe Pera.
Hello. My name is Joe Pera, and don't worry, no one turned me into a cardinal fish. I just gave myself a bad haircut and prefer you watch this aquarium footage I had saved instead. Well, not so much saved as unused, much of it because it's too relaxing. Kind of reflects how I'm feeling right now, but it's also pretty calming to watch. Right? I figured that to not share it in times like these would be wrong, and so I assembled the best of it here for you. It's a little more casual than usual, but if just one nurse can come home and watch it to fall asleep, it'll be worth it. I mean, I can't think of a much better use for my footage of a clay pot. Or this coffee pot. And these trees. It's a shame that we couldn't find a place for them before now, but I have learned that people mostly want to watch shows about people, so I tried to respect that. Someday, though, I'll make a program with only trees. Maybe even start my own network, Tree TV. No people, just trees. Maybe every now and then we'd show an NBA game, but that's it. I can't be the only one who'd prefer to watch Old Chico, a 9,000-year-old spruce, after reading the news. The downside is that my network won't provide much opportunity for human actors, but as we reassess what is essential, I wonder if actors are. Well, there are definitely two, Ed Harris and Elizabeth Hurley. Last week, I watched Austin Powers for the first time in 10 years, and it holds up very well. A complete send-up of spy films, and one of the things that makes me laugh most. And Elizabeth Hurley is the perfect straight man to Austin Powers. She's one of the few people who can rein him in, and that is no small feat. Can you imagine if it were only Austin Powers? It would be chaos. A town where all the stoplights are green. Fun to imagine, but in real life, fatal. Also, she's one of the only people in the movie not played by Austin Powers. It's just too bad that in the second film, she turned out to be a fembot. It was distressing to me and made dating hard for a long time. Not the robot part. Just imagine falling for someone who then tried to kill you. But instead of going down that path, why don't I give you some good news? Tree TV is considering a merger with Waterfall TV. And I'd say it's pretty likely, because I am the CEO of both. Look at this. Trees on the move. Just as I could endlessly look out a car window, I could endlessly watch this footage of looking out a car window. It's conducive to thinking. It helps the mind wander freely. I recently discovered a great simple recipe I'd like to share with you. It's called maple syrup toast. Basically, you take a slice of bread, toast it, and then cover it in real maple syrup. If you do it just right, it's better than a steak for me. Not only that, but you can eat it for up to 2 meals a day without getting sick. The syrup is energy. Just please don't eat it while you're driving. It's so good you might crash. Sometimes simple meals are the best. Like 2 apples. Me and my friends know this. You're a nice girl. There's some more footage of fish I'm excited to show you, but I wanted to show you this first. Not because my old idea to use empty baseball diamonds for outdoor church is more relevant than ever. It's just nice to watch the groundskeeper lay down the chalk lines. He's giving boundary to the boundaryless, and it's kind of comforting to watch in these times. Steady, steady, steady. When we were learning geometry in 3rd grade, my teacher explained that unless it intersects with another line, a line will continue on indefinitely, even if the paper ends. With craft paper, pencil, and a little arrow, I could create something that continued forever. What incredible power for an 8-year-old. I don't know about you, but lately I've been doing a lot of sitting, so much that my back has begun to get sore. Stinks. I thought I was good at sitting. Despite all the sitting, I tried my best to stick to a routine. It's grid paper on which to sketch my days. Wake up, call all my uncles by 10 a.m. At noon, eat lunch to the sound of my refrigerator humming. Then do one of 3 things I meant to do: eat dinner, then read or watch a Bull Bar movie and go to bed. The next day, I'll do it again. Sounds humdrum, but now, more than ever, my routine is what stands between me and the abyss. I learned this lesson when one evening I decided to stay up all night to see what would happen. Instead of going to bed on time, I drank a coffee after dinner, and then watched 4 Bull Bar movies. It was great until the sun came up and I saw that there's nothing separating days but sleep. And though days have cycles and seasons have cycles, time is not a cycle for us, just a straight line. One that doesn't continue forever, but that's alright, because my routine helps me forget this. Anyhow, I've been taking a lot of comfort lately in the 2nd law of thermodynamics. Usually I don't, but right now, it's nice to know that all natural processes are irreversible and things are always moving forward. And while I'm not sure it's possible to affect things much, I've got hope that we can bump the path in a slightly better direction. There's a quote about how, over time, the direction of the moral universe curves towards justice. But that is not science, and my friend brought it up recently to suggest she didn't believe it. If that were true, she said, Henry Kissinger would be in jail. He's still alive, I said. There's still time. Positive thinking. What else are we supposed to do? What do you want me to tell you? I reached in explored a bit to find something that might be of use for us, and came back with Austin Powers. And you know what? Amen. I mean, same as you. I wish we could all see the world through the eyes of a poet. But you know, we had the chance. It was called Google Glass, and we took it for granted. That's a final joke for the nurses. Well, that was supposed to be the end. But I told them I've got more aquarium footage, so they asked me last minute to extend this. So, I guess I'll keep going. Look, that striped guy doesn't look like a strong swimmer. Huh, there he goes. Don't let your kids see. There's more than one Dory. I wonder if these fish feel a longing to be somewhere else. It's hard to tell if they're resigned or unconcerned. Their faces don't give much away. You see, I can't read that. It reminds me about a story I read. It's called Axolotl and is about a man who becomes an axolotl. If you don't know what one looks like, it's like this. In the story, he goes and stares at it in the eyes every day at the zoo until one day they suddenly change places. I've only read a little bit of Kafka, but I think that would be considered Kafkaesque because that's what they say when a human turns into an animal. It's based on his story, The Bug. Beauty and the Beast? Kafkaesque. The story contained perhaps the best description of a lizard I've ever read. I saw the rosy little body, translucent, ending in a fish's tail of extraordinary delicacy. And then I discovered its eyes, its face. Inexpressive features with no other trait save the eyes, two orifices like brooches, wholly of transparent gold, lacking any life but looking, letting themselves be penetrated by my look. Julio Cortázar. I'm not sure if I understood all of it, but at the beginning, the narrator thinks they are immortal seeming and wise in their stillness, but then he becomes one and realizes that they don't move because they're just trapped in a tank, also trapped in lizard bodies. They can think like humans but can't talk because they're lizards. Kafkaesque. Seems like we've now got an animal theme going, so I asked my friend Otis if we could borrow some of his clips. In 2012, he went to Japan and fed the monkeys apples and peanuts. Otis told me that the fences here enclosed the humans, not the animals. It's interesting. gotta admit, I'm a little bit jealous. But as we know, you don't need to leave the country to feed apples to an animal. Plus, my horse friend Emma can eat 100 times more apples than those guys. Proves my theory. Everyone loves apples. Horses, turtles, chinchillas, koi poo, and on and on. Apples are the connection between species. Before you write this off as straight pandering or too cute, know that many of these animals may be trying to get drunk. A lot of species seek out apples that have been on the ground long enough to ferment. They'll eat them and get a little intoxicated. Imagine driving home on a Friday night and getting stuck behind a herd of sheep that has eaten too many fermented apples. All right, I have a question for you. At this moment, if you could be anywhere in the whole world, where would you be? Anywhere. Are you serious? Taking a summer boat ride through downtown Milwaukee? That's incredible, because all right. Take care and good night.
Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.